where, like, so this is a speech to Cuban people, first of all, but also, does anyone like notice anything about this speech that stood out to them? Anyone at all? Have any ideas? Any thoughts? Like, what stood out to you about this speech? Just in general. I'll go first, I guess. One of the things that stood out to me is he compared Eisenhower to Hitler and Mussolini. He was basically saying you're impinging on our rights just like a fascist would. So, anyone else got anything else? Like, what stood out to you guys? If not, that's exactly right. That's another important thing. He's saying, we're not a threat to America. You just think we are because we're communists and we're different than you. But he's saying in his speech to Cuban people, we're not a threat to America. They're attacking us for no reason. He's justifying his actions against America. He's saying we're not a threat to them. They just attack us because they don't like us. Okay, so I guess we'll start with the actual graphic organizer then. So who was the audience of this document? Yes. So now the most important part, how might this affect his speech? There's that, but also he wants popular support for his movement. He's trying to keep the workers and the farmers and basically the common man on his side. He's saying, we fought for our agrarian rights. We kicked out the big businessmen who were keeping you down, and we were trying to make sure you have a better future. America doesn't like that, and that's why they're fighting us. He's basically justifying his actions to the people of Cuba and trying to justify. I keep saying justify, but yeah, that's basically it. He's trying to drum up support and keep himself as a popular leader of Cuba, so the common man doesn't support America coming back in. So, this speech was given in 1961. According to the timeline, what is happening in Cuba right now? Exactly. That means also does anyone know what that means for Cuba? What happened on that time?
Do you want to go back one slide? Because I don't think I explained it. One more. Oh, maybe.
I know.
That one there.
Yes. Okay, so does anyone know what the Bay of Pigs was? The invasion of the Bay of Pigs? What happened? In simple terms, because I believe she's gonna go over it in a later lecture for you guys. America tries to invade Cuba, fails. They lose. For what? It took Cuba maybe a couple days to rout out America.
A couple hours, I think.
Yeah.
So the American government, it started under Eisenhower. He approved the funding for it. And Kennedy becomes president, and Kennedy gives the okay, like, let's invade Cuba and take out Fidel Castro. So do you remember that's part of the Cold War that we've been talking about? Like, assassinations was definitely a strategy both the US and USSR used against each other. So we're like, you know what, this guy, he's starting to change his message. He was our buddy when he came to visit us. But now that he's talking to the Cuban people, he's becoming much more leftist, much more of a stronger communist. So they get there, but here's the unfortunate part. When, and it was kind of through the CIA, it was an intelligence operation. We recruited Nicaraguan refugees in Florida and Cuban refugees to lead this invasion, so it wouldn't be tied back to us. But when they arrive at the Bay of Pigs, that's what the beaches were called there, that particular bay, El Valle de los Marranos, Bay of Pigs in English. When they arrived, they were waiting for us. Like, they knew we were coming. Someone had leaked it, so they had spies within our CIA. And even Fidel Castro was leading the men there that day. And they basically, if they made it onto the beaches, they got arrested and they sat in Cuban prisons for years. But most of the men got killed that day. So, this speech is how long after the Bay of Pigs invasion?
Let's see, Bay of Pigs happened April 17th. Whoop, my bad.
And document B is written what day? Or
May
what?
1st, 1961.
Okay.
April, May, so like.
So
now
it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the Bay of
About.
Pigs invasion.
Yeah.
I'd say Fidel Castro's pretty calm, his demeanor in this speech. But do you understand why he would call our president a fascist? Do you understand what's going on here and why he would do that? Hopefully that helps explain it a little better.
Another thing is, if you look at your timeline, Kennedy ran with a campaign slogan is, how do we permit the colonies to establish this foothold 90 miles away? This speech is also a direct commendation of what Kennedy's campaign speech. Okay. So any questions so far? Not moving too fast, not fast enough?
Do you guys have any links on your graphic organizer we can help you with?
Now we're gonna move on. Sure. So, which one, for sourcing?
Yeah.
It's towards Cuban citizens, mainly farmers and workers.
One more time, Mr. Frazier.
It's centered towards Cuban citizens, mainly farmers and workers. You guys okay over there? Everyone good? Okay, so, the second box. So we just covered that, basically the Bay of Pigs had just happened a couple weeks prior. The US had canceled all relations with Cuba.
Yeah, so the word, I think they're having a hard time with the words, right?
Oh.
So box 2 and 3.
So contextualization means what was happening around that time. It's basically what historical events were happening during this time period when the speech was given. So,
I'll give you an example. If people came in here and saw your films on my wall, they would ask, why is Mrs. Flores doing that? What would you say? Most students were using their films during class time, right? That's contextualization. And a lot of the why, like why is this happening, right? It's usually like what events are leading up to it. What